Hey, have you guys brushed your teeth and washed your face and all that good stuff? Yeah, I don't want to hear it. Get your butts upstairs and go do that. All right, I'm folding laundry. Leave me alone.
Hey, we're out of eggs.
Eggs? Oh, I thought I just got them last week.
Oh, wow.
No, I said get upstairs. Go. You got like boogers in your teeth and candy. Go brush your teeth. It's not like you're dying, okay? Just trying to do laundry here. Hey, babe.
Yeah?
Did that package come in that I told you about?
Yes.
Yeah.
You mean the alien chest burster Xena dildo?
Yeah, did it come with the egg that like
The inseminating egg, kink egg, yes.
Yay! I said get upstairs now. Go brush your teeth.
Welcome to the Life in Red podcast. This is a way of life that emphasizes positive sexuality, self-love, and confidence. On this journey, red is now your new color. Be courageous. Be passionate. Be sexy. And never stop living your best red life. So now I have one question for you. Are you ready to live your life in red? To join us on this journey, like and subscribe below.
Now it's interesting, segueing back to BDSM. I'm a mama, and I decided it was a very unorthodox thing to go. I was like, I got invited to a munch, and I was just like, okay. I don't know. I was going to ask you later if your kids have any idea of, like, I don't think mine know. They're young still, but yeah. So anyway, I show up to the event and I didn't know what to expect. This was very cash. It was at the back of a restaurant.
Munchies usually are. Very
Yeah.
cash. Like, if you didn't know the group of people that were there, like, you wouldn't know. You would just think it was somebody's like retirement party or birthday party.
It is. It was like at a sports bar. I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect. I definitely didn't feel any pressure. I had no idea that sometimes people like switch and do things. Like, I had no idea. I'm just there with a friend, and I meet this one chick, and she's like, yep, this is my husband and this is my dom. And I'm just like sitting here, like I've lived in this bubble my whole life. I'm like, how exciting. And then I hear about some doms are a little more controlling, and they'll tell you how long you can talk. Like, you can't talk a gag order. Like, you can't talk for a week. And they're just all telling me about all these things, and I'm such a journalist. I'm just like, what? And I'm like, this is awesome. And then they go to this place, and then this is where this is the thing. It was a little Texas Chainsaw Massacre because of the names. It was like, so we're going to the barn this weekend, and everybody bring they had this name, and it's like in the middle of nowhere outside the airport in Atlanta, and they were just like, so we'll have scenes set up, and it was just so surreal because I've never seen anything like this. But boundaries, safety, consent, never in my life have I felt safer in a social room than that room. The room that people are getting beat and spanked. I knew I was safe, and I know what you're talking about. That feeling of everybody is super, super respectful, of so good at boundaries. If you have bad boundaries, go to a munch.
Yeah.
You'll learn.
You need to practice those skills. Go to a lifestyle club.
Right.
You will be checked, and they will teach you.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. So back to being a mother, I think it's so cool. Your family, just you set the expectation. This is who I am. And being a mom, I've chosen to be quite open. They don't know the details, but I am open with my kids about that they would feel safe to come to me to talk about their first time experiences. And I don't know if you relate to that with your openness.
Of course. Everything, of course, needs to be like age appropriate. And my daughter more so recently has become a lot more curious about like, what do you do? And so I've really framed it as like, I really try to help couples love each other more and and really put themselves first and make sure that, they're taking care of each other. And it's all about love. Like I really frame it in like this love language for her. And, talking about body parts and all these different things. She's 9, so just trying to stay like as age appropriate as possible. Now, I think she's starting to catch on that there's something weird going on because we have items like we have one of those like black sofa things, that,
right.
And it has like all the bolts and things underneath. And she's always called it the slide because it's in our bedroom.
That's awesome.
And she thinks of it as just a slide. And so, and then we have like a hook in our ceiling. And so she was like, what is that hook for? And I was like, well, sometimes Dad likes to like hang things. And she's like, oh, okay, that checks. Like,
that's awesome.
But I do a lot of product testing. And so things just tend to stack up and I try to like keep it in and I recently got a very large shipment of stuff, to start testing. So I had to be like, don't go into the office for a little bit, because it is a ton of stuff that I am not ready to quite talk to her about, like a cock cage, for example. These items are a little like, I don't want her to be scared, by items that she sees just in the house. So I have to keep things really like tucked away and private and whatnot. But I don't want her to feel bad about like changes in her body and like having these sorts of like desires. Right. And we're very open about, some men love men and some women love women and some men used to be women and, all this different things. And we're very open about that and very like accepting and she always just kind of takes that in stride, and just definitely recognizes things that maybe are a little out of the ordinary where we live in rural Nebraska. So, just trying to raise her just to have a lot more of an open mind when it comes to these things. Because I don't want her first experience to be scary or shocking for her. And unfortunately, a lot of kids end up taking their cues from porn. So,
yeah,
and I don't want my kid to take her cue from porn. I want to be the one who navigates that conversation with her.
That's beautiful.
So, but she... someday, and my husband and I talk about this all the time, like, when is it the light bulb gonna switch on? And she's gonna be like, wait just a minute here. What is really going on? And that'll be, I'm sure it'll be really cringy, because I'm sure it'll happen in a time where I'm like not prepared, but like everything in parenting, you just
right,
have to be ready for the oddball question.
That's what my daughter found my podcast, and she's 11 going on 16, and she's, I would say, I don't feel comfortable going into too many details just for her own privacy, but I'd say some children advance and curiosity earlier than others. And I would say she's
one of those kids.
Me too.
Which is the reason why I'm terrified. Like, I know
yes.
what I was interested in.
Yes, and if it wasn't for the good man with thunderbolts upstairs on the cloud, keep it, whatever, keeping me good, I probably would have been way earlier than I was. But I, out of guilt and shame, suppressed a lot. But even then, I still knew. And I just know she is as well. And so she found the podcast and she saw the intro and it's like SEX ... And she was just like, Mom, she was just like, is this your show? And she was like, okay, I'm not adding you. If any of my friends find it, they'll quit being friends with me. Like, she was a bit afraid of that. And another thing I found being a sexual person that's hard is like when you have the kids at home, because we have a split situation. It's like you still want to have sex and be like, I'm a loud person. I could be loud. And I'm like, how do you
I get it.
How do you navigating? So there was one time I remember my inhibitions were gone. And then I was like, and she's like, Mom, are you okay? And I'm like,
oh, yeah. We've had those. We have had more than one of those moments of, you are making really strange noises. Yeah, I know.
It's very hard. Yeah. The struggle is real, being autonomous human and a parent.
Well, which is why I like a lifestyle club, because then it's like mom and dad are going on a date night, like just like a regular date night, and I can be where I want to be and be who I want to be in a safe space that is not at the house.
Yes. So could you say, like, with your husband, there's a separation for you? Because it seems like to me, we've talked about this on the show, that a lot of people who do want to go explore, there's a fear in a lot of people that means that their partner is bored with them. Could you, just from your perspective, talk about, because I have a sense that that's not the thing with you. It's just you like what you like. It's not that your partner wasn't interesting sexually from day one, but you guys just like what you like. Is it? Yeah, go ahead.
So I will say we both had previous marriages. And so when we started dating, we basically put out on the table both of our like hard passes. Like, these are things that I'm never going to settle for again. And I did it once. And I don't really want to do it again. And I don't have to get married again. And I don't have to be in a relationship that isn't going to accept me for who I am. And so right off, like the gate, he was like, these are my expectations. This is what I want. And he's always had a flirt about him, which I love. Like, I love, and probably because I'm not a super jealous person. Now, that doesn't mean that I have not had a jealous moment, because everybody has a jealous moment. But I like the thought of him being with other people. Like, that's really sexy and turns me on. And that was one of his things, was like, I like the flirt, and he, likes to be with other people. And I was like, I'm okay with that. Like, that doesn't bother me. And my expectation was, I don't want somebody else to be part of our relationship. Like, that was like, it's you and me. Like, I always say, you're my penguin. Like, we are it for life. We've made it for life. It's you and I don't want to bring somebody in. And he was like, I'm good with that. Like, he was like, I don't think, he always says, I'm lazy. I can't do more than like have more than one relationship. But he likes that little, attention, which a lot of people do. A lot of people want that attention outside of your partner. Like, your partner can tell you all day how sexy, how beautiful, how attractive you are, but the minute you hear it from like the guy who works at the gas station, you're like, oh yes I am.
Well, yeah, the ego likes. I've had a lot of guilt and shame around that. Yeah, like being in a partnership, I've had tons of guilt and shame from liking that. Yeah, and it makes me feel so bad.
I didn't want to, because I was okay with it. I was like, I'm good. If you want to have a little extra flirt on the side, and most of the time it doesn't even result in anything real. for anybody listening who is in the lifestyle, you know how hard it is sometimes to get an extra person. There's a lot of, first off, there's a lot of predatory behavior with couples sometimes on like trying to like hunt the unicorn. You see a lot of like unicorn hunting, and it's, that person is a person too. They're not just like a fuck doll that you were bringing in. They also have a person with feelings and expectations and all of that. And so it is hard to find, people who are willing to join in, that don't want to be emotionally involved, that you feel safe with yourself, because I have a family and whatnot. Like, I don't want to bring anybody in who I wouldn't trust around, family members. And so it's hard. It's actually, it's you would think that once you open your relationship, you're just be like fucking all the time, but it's generally not, like that. So it is kind of hard to, get those things finally. Like, there's a lot of talking that goes involved. And I have some friends who are like, oh yeah, we're talking to a new one this week, because the one we were talking to, for the last few months actually ended up not really wanting to do it in the end, which is fine. Like, you got to respect. But we knew going into our relationship that this was going to be part of our relationship. And actually before we even got married, we had a threesome. Because we wanted to make sure before we actually signed that paperwork that even after a threesome that we would be good.
Because you'll know.
Because you gotta know. And of course I was like, wait a minute, like I have to do this like test run before. But threesomes can make or break you. I mean, even if you feel like that's something 100% that you want to do, after the fact, it may not be what you wanted to do, and it may change how you think about your partner, even if you didn't think that would happen, or you didn't expect that, or you can't even control it. I've
seen this with couples, where it's gone the other way because one was very hurt.
Yes, exactly. And so, we had this, expectation that that's what we were going to do. And so far, it's worked out. So we're celebrating our 5-year wedding anniversary tomorrow. So,
congratulations! I hope you have a fun date night.
We have a lot of product testing this weekend. We got a shipment of high-end like BDSM gear from a Japanese like BDSM company. And so I was like, I don't want to go out for our anniversary. Like, I don't want to go anywhere. We are in the bedroom and we are like playing all weekend. We've not just for my product research, but like you also need that like reconnection. Like, just like every other couple out there, not every time we have sex is this like gung-ho BDSM, like scene, negotiation, impact play. Like, sometimes you just gotta have maintenance sex to like just stay connected.
So do you feel, that's what I was going to ask, because I think this is another objective question that people would probably wonder about, is when you've had such a stimulating experience, like maybe there is a little bit too much of putting it on a pedestal stimulation. Do you find that being with him now, after the stimulation of doing fantasy play with a third party, a third person, do you find that just being with a partner and just playing with him is not as stimulating, or do you enjoy both for different reasons equally?
I would say I enjoy both, and honestly, having just a real intimate, just him and I, is sometimes the exact reset that I need to really get that connection again. Because when you are playing out these roles, especially we like a lot of dominant and submission, and sometimes when you're in a really like a high dominant, high submissive dynamic, and you have a lot of degradation involved, and a lot of just commands and directives, and you're kind of performing. I mean, it feels good if like there's a lot of pleasure and whatnot, but it's very like charged.
Yeah.
That just having kind of a really like slow missionary is like just, there's a reason why really slow missionary is a lot of people's go-to, because it's so connective and sensual. And I find it kind of like going out, for example, for me is sometimes I crave like getting dressed up, going out on the town. And then sometimes I crave, let's just sit at home and watch a movie. And so to me, like sexual experiences are the same way. Like sometimes you're in the mood for something like really adventurous. And then sometimes you're not in the mood for any adventure at all. You're like, let's just like have a slow cuddle fuck and like then binge watch Netflix for that.
And that could be just as good. It's about what you want. It's not black and white. And I think that was something I've heard and wonder myself, is like once you step foot into, because I am an addictive personality. Yeah. You give me stimulating, sometimes I'm more. But I could see myself craving, because I've played the sub role, and I am like you. I'll say it, the boss bitch. But there's sometimes I do crave going back into the reality of self and the intimacy and the raw vulnerability of taking that mask off, the more tantric approach of sexuality to reconnect with the good, the bad, the ugly, the afraid that we both have.
Well, and you had kind of touched on this at the beginning, like having a partner who you're like, I don't want to hurt you and I can't bring that to the bedroom. You know, even though him and I do easily slip into these dominant submissive roles, being in a really like high degradation scene where there's like a lot of name calling and kind of this almost wall between you during this scene, that's hard on him too. Like it's because I mean, he loves me. So like
he's trying to protect you in the back of his mind always. Yeah,
and so it is hard on him too. And we've talked about him and I, how it's just, sometimes it's hard to get into that role himself, or it's not maybe as satisfying for him to be 100% in that role. He's like not in the mood for that sort of role. And sometimes I'm not in the mood for that sort of role. And so that's when it's important to like, be like, you know, I get that like you want to be extra feisty tonight, but like, I really just need some connection. But it is hard. There's a common phrase called like subdrop, where you hit this like headspace where you are just in this submissive thing, but then all of a sudden, and it can hit you out of nowhere, you just kind of drop, and you may start like, for me, I can like just start sobbing. Like all of a sudden,
I've had that.
Yeah. All of a sudden it just went too far. And now hopefully you know enough about your own like safe words, and we have several different, like we have orange, which is like you don't need to stop. It's not a full
slow
stop.
Down.
It's like a slow down, change position. I'm about ready to like freak
to drop,
out, but I like don't want to. Yeah, and then of course we're so cliche. Pineapple's like our hard stop. But then for the dominant, they can also have dom drop, where all of a sudden they're like, holy, what am I doing to my partner? I feel like a trash human being because I just hit my partner against the face and like spit on them. And like, who does that in the normal every day? But it's like, but that's what my partner wanted. But like, I don't beat women, but I
really like doing it. It's a real mind F, but I really like beating you right now, but I'm not supposed to do this. So after
do it, like, we're not like that in every day. And so it is. And so kind of recognizing too what your partner needs. And that aftercare is so important because I mean, submissive don't just need it. Like the doms
too.
They need to know that they like everything they did was okay and safe and trusting and loving. And I know that he did it from like a loving, because that's what I wanted. And that's what he wanted, like in our scene. But now it's like, my favorite thing is like eat ice cream. I love to eat ice cream after an intense scene.
That's so cute. I love that.
We have like our Ben and Jerry's. We'll like bring them into the bed with like our spoons, and we just like, it's so nice. There's nothing I like better than
I love that.
Like, a couple hour intense scene and you just finish it off with some Ben and Jerry's.
That's so awesome.
It's my favorite.
Man, some good cookies and cream after some cream. I don't blame you. And but like
toys everywhere.
It's quite ironic. I'd love to see it. I could just see a movie scene of this. It's like all this just happened, then you're sitting here just eating ice cream. Like, that's so awesome.
I was just put into these terribly terrible positions that were just degrading, and I've been stretching a lot more, so like getting a lot more bended, and then all of a sudden you're like just laying in bed. I like a good hot shower afterwards too.
Yeah.
It's what we've done.
Well, and
together.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. I love you guys already. You guys are so, it's so cute. I love it. So like my thing is like my first experience with BDSM, I did have my first experience, and he was an experience. There's people who have played and don't know.
They're like professional doms. They're like people out there who are like, don't want a relationship with you, but they will.
That's what it was. Yeah. That's what he knew. I knew nothing about it except the curiosity. And so he told me straight up, I just got out of a marriage. I don't want a relationship. I don't know if I ever want to get one again. Yeah. And we were just having a friendship conversation. I mentioned my curiosities in the midst of a conversation, because I end up going into it like you, no matter what. And he was just like, he opened up. He never told me that he was, and then all of a sudden he was like, would you be interested? But this is my boundaries. He talked about having the talk afterwards. We would lay there, talk about it. There'd be different rules, like, different things, safe words, very professional. I was not ready for it. I realized that I have to have an emotional connection, at least at that point in my sexual journey, before I felt safe letting someone do those kind of things. Yeah. But when I got in a relationship, and then it was completely different. It was like, yay. But he struggled with, I think this is the thing. Like, I've talked to certain women and men who play the dom role, who do have that fear afterwards. Like, what if they got mad in real life? And there is that, like, you got comfortable. Have you seen that, where they got comfortable playing the dom role, and it was that boundary was getting crossed in real time because it was so comfortable during sex?
I haven't, but I know what you're talking about, and I've definitely seen it. Now, I will say we consider ourselves like a 24/7 dynamic. There are certain like rules and protocols that I just follow throughout the day that aren't sexual. And sometimes it's a lot more intense. And then like, if I've got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of workload or whatever, like those rules will drop off a tiny bit, because, he understands that like I can't, even though I love this mindset, sometimes you just gotta like do everyday life, and you can't just be like following certain rules and protocols. But we do try to like stick to certain things to kind of always have that like dynamic present. So like, for example, I wear like a day collar, and I'd like set out clothes for him, and there's certain things that like we text each other throughout the day, and like, and then we follow a lot of like the consensual non-consent. So like if he wants it anytime, like I do it, and it doesn't matter like what I'm doing or anything like that. If he wants it, it happens. And so we follow those things. But there have been times where I'm like, or he'll even recognize, you have a lot on your plate right now, and it's not fair for me to like have these extra, because you never want it to turn into like an extra task or an extra chore or whatever. You
want it to be fun.
And so even though I do promote it, like I wouldn't even mind like a little bit more, sometimes it's fun to have that like kind of daddy dom, partner. I love a daddy dom. But but you never want it to come from a place of like disrespect. And I had written something very early on in my career on like seeing the red flags in those sorts of relationships, especially if you're vetting somebody to like become your dom, on and looking for like, you know, how they talk about the lifestyle, you know, if they're involved in it. Definitely a red flag is like, well, you know, I was part of this club, but you know, they didn't understand how I play. And it's like, well, that's a red flag. That person. Or I don't believe in safe words, or, you know, there are
so major control issues.
Yes, where they are basically using the lifestyle as a cover for their like gaslighting or their domestic abuse, or their controlling behaviors. And so really just, I always recommend, before you decide to seek out, you know, if a partner, let's say professional dom or whatever, if it doesn't just happen organically within your relationship, but you're seeking it out, you want a dominant or you want a submissive, to really get yourself involved in a lifestyle club,
so you can see the difference.
Get really cozy with people, because they know, you know, who are
they told me immediately.
Yes.
They're very protective. This gentleman came up, he was like one of the leaders of the meetings and stuff, and said, listen, if you see this, and this, that's what we call the toxic doms. Like they'll do gag orders for like a week at the meetings only to
right away, like,
especially in front of other men. Because of their insecurity. They'd be like, you can't talk for a week, to punish out of their own insecurity, to control the partner. This is my thing. This is where I'd have a hard time. Okay, so like in me and my partner's dynamic, I'd say, here we go. I got to be real because this is eating me up. All right, so there's the daddy thing going on. And so we do have that like daddy, and that was my first experience, and it was really sexy.
I love it.
I do too. But I'm such a switch. Like, I really am. Like, the thing is, it's like, okay, I want you to be my daddy. And I love, like, oh my, I get wet. Like, just being told, like, you know, I get it. But then there's sometimes I don't want to be controlled.
Are you that bratty? You're like a brat?
I'm a brat.
You're a brat. So
I want to give you a blowjob because you're turning me on. I want to pleasure you as a surprise for you. I want to surprise you. But in the it's like, no, gotta wait for permission. Like, I hate that shit. Sorry.
So I am like 100% in my dynamic super subby. Like we have a friend of ours who will come and play with us, and she's like a dominant female. And even sometimes she's like, you have such a sub. Like, she'll tease my husband, like, you have such a sub. And he really just brings that out in me.
So he brings that out in you, though.
Yes,
like, yeah.
And yeah, like, I'm not saying that every so often you don't get a little feisty, but brats are there for a reason. And some people love being brat tamers. I mean, that's a whole separate, like, daddy dom sort of thing, is like the brat tamers. And people love that. There's so many
I would say he's
types of
that's
dominance.
I think there is that challenge in the taming. And like, I am like, if there's somebody who likes a challenge, I'm the ultimate. I got that Scottish blood. Fuck with me. Try. You know, it's like, I want you to try to get me.
I feel that way in my everyday life. Like, come at me, bro. Except for when it comes to my dynamic. I don't know. We have such a good, like, thing.
That's cool. It's a balance.
We really understand, like, what we are to each other. Yeah. But that's really what drew us together. Like, I think we recognized it in each other in a way that neither one of us really understood.
It was a balance.
A very, like, learning experience for us.
Right.
But yeah, like the dad, I have Yes Daddy, like, tattooed on me. Like, that's core. It's part of me now.
That's so cool. Well, it's one of those things I've debated. Do I just surrender? Do I, if there is this, And do I just surrender and just go with it? Because I know it would make life easier for him. But then there is this other part of me. I feel like I would be betraying myself.
But he might miss, if he's like a brat tamer, he might miss the bratty. I mean, some guys, not just guys, there are all sorts of different spectrums of people that just love those sorts of brat and brat tamer dynamic. And thrive off of it.
Yeah. No, I love the adventure of like, he'll, we've done that where I'll get bratty and he'll just like pounce on me and be like, yeah, taming time. And I'm just like, you're gonna have to work hard to try and tame me, like it's a lot of fun. I love the fight back and then the surrender. Like it's cool, but you're welcome, everybody. You're welcome. Well, thank you. I know. Thank you so much, Athena, for just being so vulnerable, so open and real with us about this world that is still a mystery to many of you out there. And I just truly appreciate you being on today.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And if anybody ever wants to connect, I'm always very open. I have a LinkedIn. I have an Instagram. My LinkedIn is a lot more active than my Instagram. But yeah, I love just connecting with people that just want to explore more and just want to find pleasure in their life and maybe ways that they've been afraid to do it or like ashamed or curious or, we're told that's not the way that you get pleasure. 'Cause there's a million different ways to get pleasure. So you don't need to box yourself in.
No boxes. And speaking of box, below there's a little box and I'll put Athena Gayle's information so you can not be stalkers and crazy people, but actually reach out to her when you need information. And it's been a pleasure. I'll make sure to list that below. Thank you again, Athena.
Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. And guys, keep it red. And I will see you next time. Bye.
Thanks for joining the Life in Red today, where we embrace passion, confidence, and positive sexuality. Keep painting your journey in bold red strokes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us so that you never miss out on living your best red life. Ready for more? Stay passionate, stay red. See you next episode.